Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the Road to 10th APFSD Regional Dialogue on Youth Empowerment in Climate Action. This dialogue will serve as one of the pre-events to the 10th Asia Pacific Forum on Sustainable Development and is co-organized by the United Nations Development Programme in partnership with the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change Regional Collaboration Centre for Asia Pacific, UNICEF East Asia and Pacific, UNICEF South Asia, United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, United Nations Environment Programme, United Nations Major Group for Children and Youth, United International Federation of Youth, Asia Pacific Resource and Research Centre for Women, the British Council, Youngo, Movers Programme, and the 2030 Youth Force with support from Sweden. I am CC Shen, Partnerships and Pipeline Development Coordinator at UNDP in Asia and the Pacific, and your host for today and tomorrow. On behalf of the convening partners of the Regional Dialogue, we warmly welcome you to this event. We hope all of you are as excited as we are for today and tomorrow, and be inspired together to act hand in hand in moving forward on the climate agenda. Now, we are delighted to welcome over 2,300 fellow climate advocates, leaders, and champions from all over Asia Pacific and across the world who are joining with us today in one common platform. With over 30 speakers from different countries, organizations, networks, and sectors representing various underrepresented communities, we present to you one of the most diverse and inclusive celebration of youth climate advocacy and action in Asia Pacific. Now, just a few house rules before we begin. Firstly, we ask that you listen with attention and share with intention during the sessions of the dialogue. Please remember that this is an open and safe space for all, and we encourage you to share your insights and perspectives with us. We do also encourage you to turn on your cameras to make our sessions more engaging. Now, if all of you are ready, then please lend us your ears, open your eyes, and dedicate your hearts as we begin our journey. To start, let us learn more about the Youth Empowerment in Climate Action platform, or YECAP, through the following video. We hope you enjoyed the video just now. Let us open the dialogue today with some messages from our organising partners. First, let us give a warm round of virtual applause to Mr. Christophe Bahouet, Deputy Regional Director for Asia and the Pacific and Director of UNDP Bangkok Regional Hub. Christophe, over to you.
Thank you very much, Cici, and hello everyone. I'm speaking to you from the regional office of UNDP in Bangkok, and I would first like to extend a very warm welcome to the young activists, the young advocates, and all of you who are joining us today for this regional dialogue on youth empowerment in climate action. Very, very happy to have you, so many of you connected here. I also want to recognize the other speakers of this opening session from the government of Sweden, and I want to thank Sweden for their support to YECAP, UN colleagues from UNICEF and UNFCCC, and also a partner from UNGO. Now, just to set the context of this regional dialogue, I would just like to highlight one trend, which is a very positive trend that UNDP and I believe all of us are seeing in Asia Pacific, which is a growing involvement of the young people in national and local development, and particularly in climate actions. It is a voice of the young people that is more and more often to be heard, young people being increasingly vocal, a voice that needs to be listened to. And it's also the actions that young people are taking for climate, the solutions that young entrepreneurs or just young citizens in their community are bringing for climate, to address climate change. And this is something that deserves to be supported from all sides. But that's also something, and it's important to recognize it, that goes with risks. Very often, young activists, or too often, young activists are exposing themselves to hostile action. And that brings up the issue of protection, which UNDP, together with Sweden, has been very vocal about, and we need to make sure that young activists are protected so they can play fully their role. Now, from UNDP development work across Asia and the Pacific, I think what we see that we've made the youth a central part of, if not all our programs, most of our programs. And we are very committed to this as the whole United Nations, and we're also very committed to YECAP, which is, I think, a very important initiative, and we've seen that importance on a number of occasions. I just want to recall the road to Stockholm plus 50, the regional dialogue that many of you can recall, where we had really more than 2,000 young people joining. Over half of them were actually women, and the third came from a marginalized group. And I think this example of the road to Stockholm plus 50 was very telling in the sense that it's really increased youth engagement in the dialogue on climate change, but also led to a number of actions. And if I look at YECAP, we're also very proud to see that over 30,000 young people across Asia and the Pacific have been involved in the platform. So I think that's something really worth engaging, worth supporting. And as we take the road to the 10th Asia Pacific Forum for Sustained Development, of which this regional dialogue is an important preliminary event, I would say that it's very timely, and it's very important that we gain a stronger momentum for youth and for the youth action in climate. And I think that's really the objective that we are pursuing for this regional dialogue. First is really to open a space to recognize the role of the young people in climate action. It's important to do so. But beyond recognition, I think the second objective is really to inspire the young people and all of us in identifying priorities, in identifying solution, and then implementing solution for climate actions, and I would say more broadly for the Sustainable Development Goals. So I'm actually very hopeful that, confident that with a very good agenda that has been prepared, with the participation of many of you from many countries, we will be able to achieve this double objective, and very much look forward from UNDP side to be part of it and to continue this work for climate action with young people and all of you. Thank you. Back to you, Cici.
Thank you, Christoph, for your remarks. As you mentioned, young people are increasingly vocal, and it's important that we listen to the perspectives and solutions that they bring into the table. And what's exciting about the YECAP platform is it's not only facilitated dialogue, but has led to tangible actions for over 30,000 young people. And it's really about how we can take the next steps to work together to give more space to young people. So up next, we have Mr. Myo-Sin Nyut, Deputy Regional Director, UNICEF East Asia and Pacific Regional Office, for his opening remarks. Mio, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Sissy. Good morning, colleagues, our UN partners from the government of Sweden, especially our young participants, youth leaders, young activists, especially the young girls who are leading this climate activism and the sustainable solution. A very warm welcome to you all. Today's regional dialogue on the youth empowerment and climate action is one of the many series of the conversations that we are having with you, young people and children in the region and around the world, leading up to, as Christoph mentioned, 10th Asia Pacific Forum on Sustainable Development. Undeniably, young people play a very important role in influencing the environmental policies and also demanding urgent actions from your governments and intergovernment body for the climate change. Although children, young people, young girls, vulnerable groups are the least responsible persons for the climate change, but they are increasingly bearing the burden of this climate impact. The climate change affects the rights of the child, especially the rights to the basic services, access to basic services, including quality education, health, nutrition, water and sanitation, and also other important rights. So I want to really highlight that this is a climate crisis, is a child right crisis. And it's also, the climate crisis has impacted on the safety of the young people, especially women and girls, because when there is a scarcity of resources, the safety is put at risk for competing the resources. And we also listening to the young people, they're sharing, they're telling about their anxiety over the future due to this climate. As UNICEF, we are very committed to work with children and young people and to ensure that they have a right to clean and safe environment. As reflected in the Convention on the Rights of the Child, children and adolescents, especially the most vulnerable, have the right to participate in decisions that affect their lives and must be consulted in the decision-making processes. That's one thing that we are doing, and we hope that we will continue until we reach our goals. To do so, we support not only the young people, but also the adults to ensure that they have space for young people to be more represented in the national policy-making processes. And young people show us they are not only passionate about this issue, but they are also demanding more opportunities and more space to take action and share the perspective. Young people want their voices to be heard, and also they want to co-lead and co-create the solutions and the decision-making process. So not just as an activist, but also a solution maker and innovator. We very much welcome all the young people in this process. Through this engagement, we together with partners, we bring a diverse group of young leaders and activists to promote the dialogue. At the same time, they claim their right to participate. I'm sure that all of you, young leaders, youth advocates, adolescent girls, climate activists, will make best use of this platform to ensure that their voice is heard and the future for the change. You can count on UNICEF to champion on climate smart schools across the region. We are working with the education sector to ensure that students acquire climate literacy, opportunities to take actions in their communities and beyond. We will also support the governments to design climate resilient social infrastructure and services for children, especially in high-risk climate-impacted areas, and provide responsive services to those affected by the climate, natural disasters, especially girls and women. We will also share our ongoing work with you and create safe spaces for you to participate and continue this engagement. I look forward to learning about the results of today's dialogue and seeing the Youth Empowerment in Climate Action platform grow through your leadership and participation. I want to say that stay ignited, stay active, and be ready to pass the torch to the next generation when the time comes, because it's going to be a very long battle. I wish you a fruitful and engaging discussion. Thank you very much. Back to you, Sissy.
Thank you so much, Mio, for your insightful perspective. As you mentioned, children and youth are demanding more opportunities and more space in the policy-making areas. And it's really important that we examine how we can co-lead and co-create solutions. And it is our hope that during the YECAP dialogue, we have an opportunity to not only showcase some of the amazing climate actions of young people, but hopefully to inspire you, our audience, to also join in and make a tangible change in your communities and beyond. Up next, we have Mr. Ovais Surmed, Deputy Executive Secretary, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, with a video message for his opening remarks.
Good morning, dear colleagues and friends. On behalf of UN Climate Change Secretariat and UNFCCC IGES Regional Collaboration Center for the Asia Pacific, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you. The participants of the Regional Dialogue on Youth Empowerment, taking place at the 10th session of the Asia Pacific Forum on Sustainable Development. I would also like to express my sincere thanks to our partners for coming together to organize this event, which creates an important opportunity to strengthen collaboration between youth from the Asia-Pacific region, development organizations, policymakers, civil society organizations, and other stakeholders. As we all know, the critical role of youth as agents of change was reinforced by the decisions adopted by the parties at COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, including the action plan of the Glasgow Work Programme on Action for Climate Empowerment. That action plan includes activities that aim to enhance the skills and capacities of youth to participate and engage meaningfully in climate action at all levels. In practice, this means governments and other stakeholders providing capacity and skill building opportunities for young people, as well as creating opportunities for them to discuss their ideas and national ACE focal points and other decision makers working on climate change. This regional dialogue is therefore a good practice example of implementation in action, that is, climate implementation in action. Another example of implementation is action in the Youth Empowerment in Climate Action Platform, also known as YECAP, Y-E-C-A-P, an initiative that has been led by UNDP Asia Pacific and UNFCCC Regional Collaborative Center for Asia Pacific in collaboration with UNICEF East Asia, the British Council, Youngo, the Children and Youth Constituency within the UNFCCC, the Movers Program, and the 2030 Youth Force. YECAP includes awareness raising activities and aims to prepare young climate advocates across Asia Pacific to meaningfully engage in national, regional, and international climate change processes. Through a collaboration with other UN agencies, the YECAP initiative will be providing an in-depth learning and traineeship program on the UNFCCC processes, supporting young people to engage with policymakers in the areas of mitigation, adaptation, means of implementation, and generate new ideas and initiatives to drive climate action on the ground at all levels. Another important YECAP activity, which is coming up soon, is a 3-day training session planned during the 79th session of the Economic Social Commission for Asia Pacific, which will develop the skills of a group of young negotiators to effectively participate and engage in climate policy, development, and UNFCCC negotiations. At UNFCCC Secretariat that I belong to, including through the Regional Collaboration Center of the UNFCCC based in Asia Pacific in Bangkok, we remain committed to supporting youth as critical agents of change to implement effective and meaningful climate action. To address the climate emergency, we need your ideas, your enthusiasm, and most of all, we need you to contribute to climate action. We are all in this together, and only together we can create a fair, just, and climate resilient future for all. We are very much looking forward to the outcomes of this dialogue and to our continued support for your climate action efforts and initiatives. I wish you all the best and thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Ovais, for your remarks. To echo some of the important points shared, it's really important, again, to not just engage youth, but engage youth meaningfully in the process and to work with all levels of decision makers to get there. I love the end part where, Ovais mentioned that we are all in this together, and only together can we have a fair and just climate outcomes for all. With that being said, it is my absolute pleasure to invite Ms. Anna Maria Ortop, the Head of Development Cooperation, Regional Asia and the Pacific, the Embassy of Sweden in Bangkok. Anna Maria, over to you.
Thank you so much, and good morning to all participants. It's great to see that so many have joined today, not least representatives from GECAP, of course, and from civil society, but also from UN and other spheres. And it's my great pleasure to welcome you again to the Regional Dialogue on Youth Empowerment in Climate Action. This year, as an important event in the lead up to the 10th Asia Pacific Forum on Sustainable Development. I strongly believe that the successful implementation of the 2030 Agenda necessitates meaningful youth inclusion, and the Asia Pacific region is home to more than half of the world's young population. You must be part of discussions, solutions, and be recognized as agents of change in addressing and responding to the climate crisis. Today, I would like to focus on actions, hope, and solidarity. When weaved together, I believe they can connect to the challenges that you will be discussing at the regional forum during these upcoming days. Once we start to act, hope is everywhere. So instead of looking for hope, look for action. Then, and only then, hope will come. This is a quote from a fellow Swede, Greta Thunberg, one of the world's most vocal young climate activists. So let me take the opportunity to reflect on actions since last year's regional forum. Last June, the Stockholm Plus 50 conference placed environmental concerns at the forefront of the international agenda to consider the pathways to a sustainable future. And during the road to Stockholm Plus 50, GECAP and their young youth fellows organized a series of national and regional consultations and provided a platform for young people, particularly those from marginalized communities. GECAP collaborated with more than 4,000 young people to find solutions to the climate crisis. And last November, partners joined GECAP's Indigenous Fellows training in support of Indigenous youth to address their vulnerabilities. The aim was to support Indigenous youth with technical knowledge, safety, and mechanisms, security about climate mitigation, adaptation, global processes, and mechanisms in their role as climate leaders and activists. And at COP27, some progress was made. Youth were recognized as agents of change in addressing and responding to the climate crisis and included in the processes for designing and implementing climate policy. However, representatives from low-income countries, as well as those from vulnerable indigenous communities, have to be included to a larger extent. And Sweden's commitment to climate action includes space for civil society and a human rights-based approach. In connection to the release of the latest IPCC report earlier this week, Guterres was mentioning the fact that we now have the facts, and we really need to act. But he said also that it's not too late, which brings me to my second area, hope. As we embrace a genuine whole of society approach, it has been a year of promising progress in advancing youth inclusion in climate action. And this gives me hope. Hope that humanity can change, avert the worst climate disasters, and build a better future. Over the year, YECAP has contributed to ensure young people's democratic participation in government processes related to the national climate commitments under the Paris Agreement. 80% of the countries in APAC that are behind the Paris Agreement included youth considerations in the revised nationally determined contributions that were submitted before COP27. It is also encouraging to see the regional dialogue bring together so many young environmental activists and defenders, entrepreneurs, environmental professionals, and indigenous youth climate leaders. All of you inspired to fulfill Agenda 2030. With the growing movement of youth in Asia and the Pacific calling for urgent actions on the climate agenda, together we continue to build up on the momentum and our partnerships. We hope that YECAP will continue to build bridges as well as open doors for youth involved in climate action and the fulfillment of Agenda 2030. On solidarity, Sweden is pleased to work in partnership with YECAP to ensure meaningful youth engagement and youth-led dialogues with the aim to build bridges between youth with different backgrounds. Sweden will continue to be supportive of the effective inclusion of the most vulnerable groups of young people and to improve the coordination and collaboration of stakeholders and organizations in the region. Sweden will continue to be a voice for meaningful youth engagement in international fora and in high-level discussions around the world. I wish you very fruitful days ahead where you can learn and inspire each other to continue to take actions, feel that there is hope, and that we are many who are in solidarity with your important work. And don't forget, once we start to act, hope is everywhere. So instead of looking for hope, look for action. Then, and only then, hope will come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna Maria, for your remarks. And what a powerful quote that you've just shared. Instead of looking for hope, look for action, and only then will hope come. And we aim for YECAP to continue to be a platform that empowers youth to action and delivers hope and solidarity to communities across APAC. So thank you so much again. Up next, we have Dr. Dina Merriam, member of Youngo, for her opening remarks. Dina, over to you.
Hello, everyone. And I think everyone is joining from different time zones. And for me, it's a very fresh morning and amazing sunlight shining on my face. So I think that is a very good start, at least for me. So the thing I would like to start this conversation with is that youth are the most affected They have, they lose their sense of security, the sense of livelihood and health when it comes to climate change. They are also the ones who are affected massively by the harsh effects of climate change. So yes, we being vocal is making the most sense because we are the most vulnerable and the most affected. Now coming to how the stakeholders can help us and empower us. Firstly, I applaud the efforts of all the organizing partners with their different initiatives of empowering youth in transformative change, in making them leadership prone, and training them in all aspects so that they can do the necessary on ground. However, there are a few gaps that still need to be fulfilled. There has been a repeated dialogue or a presentation of meaningful youth action, but there are several countries who still do not have youth in their country party delegation. This speaks volume about the gaps that still exist, and I urge stakeholders to further pressurize parties to include more youth in their delegations. And not only including youth as tokenistic representation, but train them for negotiations, train them that they could speak up during negotiating sessions. As we have seen, the ones who are awake at around 3 or 4 a.m. at negotiating tables at COPs are youth, are young people, because we are most passionate about our work. And that's the reason we need countries which still do not have youth in their delegations to roll out programs, to have youth in the delegation, to train them, to get them to COP. Then on another note, I would also mention about the latest IPCC report, which is released last March. And now we have scientific evidence, and there has been a lot of talk going on. Okay, there's climate action happening. There's so much money being floated into climate mitigation, adaptation, but is it enough? So we have seen that loss and damage is going to continue to happen. There is going to be harsher climate events. More livelihoods are going to be lost. Again, youth, women, indigenous people are going to be more in a more vulnerable situation. Adaptation gaps are high, especially in development countries, and there has to be a lot of work still need to be done on mitigation. Climate finance, there's still work needs to be done on climate finance. So looking at a promising agenda or promising situations of the COP28 presidency, I hope and duly hope that these are going to be addressed at COP28, and we have more money, and not only more money, but sustainable action and more sustainable driven platforms, and so that there is sufficient climate action. Lastly, a note to young people as well. Yes, meaningful youth representation at negotiating tables is important. Meaningful dialogue of youth with relevant stakeholders is important. But there's another thing which youth could do is on-ground change, community involvement. And this doesn't require major stakeholders. This requires the support of adults or older stakeholders within your community. They need climate literacy more than governments. Now the climate literacy of governments is increasing. The climate literacy of stakeholders is increasing. Yes, we have, from the past 10 years, from when Younger was formed in 2011, we have had a good amount of push to make the climate literacy among stakeholders coming. But on local level, there's still support required from your college professors or your building manager. If you want to have a small solar panel in your building, so that your building is shifting from a high carbon emission stage to a low carbon emission stage, you need to do that literacy. You need to start fundraising. So please even do these local transformative changes, which are small but have a greater impact, and then they have a ripple effect in your country and in your community and in your continent, and then globally. So act locally and think globally. So this is also really important. That's my final note, and I think I will not take more of your time. That's it.
Thank you so much, Dina, for your powerful message. As you mentioned, meaningful representation of youth in negotiations and dialogues are important. But what's equally important and valuable is youth working at the community levels. Change happens at all levels, and it's those small ripples that help us make big waves of change. So thank you so much again.